There's a big difference between trying to pull someone out of Mormonism and to try to bring them to Christ. And if you think about it, mindset can make all of the difference. If I'm trying to debate someone out of Mormonism, I can be more focused on winning an argument rather than winning a soul. And if you think about it, the focus in that moment is really on me rather than on that other person. Sadly, stats suggest that perhaps as many as 80% who leave Mormonism become atheists or agnostic. And we think that's just a tragedy. If you think about it, it's not enough simply to bring them out of the LDS church, and then they don't know Jesus as their complete Savior. I'm convinced that reaching their soul requires a change in mindset. I'd like you to think for a moment what you do with your hands. Imagine if you have an enemy that's approaching you. In that particular situation, what would you do with your hands? You might take sort of a defensive posture, right? To protect yourself. You might even maybe take a preemptive strike. Is that maybe sometimes the way it is when Christians are trying to reach out to Mormons, our mental posture? Think again about how your hands would change if you saw someone who is in deep need of help, who is in trouble, maybe a child, or maybe you see videos of folks who are helping animals who are in need in the moment. And what do they do with their hands then? They reach out, right? They reach out with a helping hand. Or maybe to someone who's really struggling, they maybe put their arm around someone and give them a hug. It's an entirely different mindset. Friends, the point here we want to make is to see Mormons as victims, not enemies. The enemy, if there is any, is not the Mormon. It's the teachings of Mormonism, which can really victimize Mormons. Let me give you a couple of examples. Take how Mormons are taught about blessings. From Doctrine and Covenants, 130 verses 20 and 21, we read, "There is a law irrevocably decreed in heaven before the foundation of this world, upon which all blessings are predicated. And when we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience to the law, upon which it is predicated." You can imagine this places a great burden upon Mormons. There are no blessings that don't also have an if attached to them. Now, if things are going well for you, you might think, wow, this is great, and give yourself a pat on the back. But if things are not going so well, then you might ask the question, what did I do wrong? A while back, we were on the streets in Utah, and we came across a woman, and she described how things were just kind of off. She was having some trouble, and she finally went back and attributed it to a load of laundry that she had done on Sunday about 2 months prior. Now, that may seem like an extreme example, but it shows kind of the underlying current of this idea that there are no unconditional blessings. Mormons are victims. Consider another passage from 2 Nephi 25:23. It says, "It is by grace you are saved, after all you can do." Now, if I'm a true believing Mormon, what part of that passage am I going to focus on? I'm going to focus on the second part, that after all I can do part. And I'm always going to wonder at the end of the day, did I do enough? I could have always done a little bit more. I could have been more patient, more kind, more generous, you name it. If I have a pretty good day, I might be thinking, but what about tomorrow and the next day? Again, a while back when we were on the streets in Utah, we encountered some young guys. They were sitting on the grass. I think maybe they were smoking grass too. Anyway, we introduced ourselves as some Christian missionaries, and they said that they were atheists, agnostic. And maybe if I could just pause on that point, great opportunity. Don't hesitate when you encounter that. One of the comments, responses I'll have immediately is, tell me your story. You see, a lot of times I think their voice can often be one that they try to speak loudly in society because no one's actually taken the time to truly listen to them and to truly care. So one of the guys went on to describe, said, tell me your story. He said that he had gone off to war and he had seen some very terrible things, and it made him question God. But he said the thing that was most difficult of all was one day when he lost his brother, was killed in a car accident. He went on later that week to go to sacrament meeting, and they explained to the bishop what had happened. And the bishop said to his family, your brother must not have been worthy. Mormons are victims. That was just crushing to him. You may be familiar with Jack Mormons, people who are inactive, and there can be all kinds of reasons for that. But in our encounters, as we reach out, we hear a message again and again that it was just an impossible gospel to follow. That I tried, but I just couldn't live up to the expectations. It wasn't that they wanted to give up on church or that they wanted to give up on God. It just was that they didn't think that they were good enough. Friends, again, that's the message, the voice of a victim speaking. So mindset can really make all of the difference. Instead of reaching out to Mormons and taking a defensive posture, see yourself instead as reaching out with a helping hand. And then you'll truly be ready to reach out in love.